Welcome back to my channel. Everything's super peachy, right? It's very concerning to the lengths that people will go to excuse behavior and say, well, it's gotta be the government. The government needs to do more. The government is not doing enough. We need more funding to help with the children. It's not the responsibility of the parents. It's the responsibility of the government. Listen to what she has to say.
Every single person in this country who has children did not have them and say, I want you to be a bum living in a cardboard box under the bridge. That's not what they said when they give birth to their children. They said,
Is that how it works? Is it, as long as you don't say it or put it into existence, as long as you don't say it into the air, then it won't occur. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to put any effort into anything that would facilitate the children actually being success when they're adults. According to her, as long as you just don't say,
every single person in this country who has children did not have them and say, I want you to be a bum living in a cardboard box under the bridge. That's not what they said when they give birth to their children. They said, I want you to flourish and thrive and do well.
like I said, what's going on in the UK, the same talking points, no matter where it seems to be, as far as Western society, they always want to sidestep the actual responsible parties. And considering that a majority of children are born to single mothers out of wedlock, they always try to find some means to say the government needs to do more. Except for this lady, she actually says the real out loud for all to see and hear.
Fact that allows them to deliver more prevention, and £1 invested into a scheme like this delivers £3 to the NHS. So it makes financial sense.
It might make financial sense. I do get that, but I'm thinking, isn't the best prevention getting parents to do their job in the first place? I realize.
And mind you, brushing of one's teeth when it comes to children is not the responsibility of the schools nor the government, but this is what they're trying to convince people over in the UK, that they need more funding so that the brushing of one's teeth can be done or taught in schools, not at the home. I'm gonna step aside, the comedic trope of British people have bad teeth. Push that to the side. But the fact that they want to say, oh, well, it needs to be the government or the schools that are getting children to brush their teeth because of the deadly consequences that occur when children don't brush their teeth on a regular basis. I'm going to put an insert of what non-brushed teeth look like when it gets, it's confusing and disgusting.
Some parents aren't going to do it, but it seems to me, and we don't want children to suffer as a result of those hopeless, hapless, feckless, lazy, shouldn't be parents at all parents. And let's call it out like.
Say it. Say it. Say it to their face. The fact that children are not brushing their teeth to the point to where they're on the verge of deadly consequences is confusing. But the fact that the main persons that are involved with caring for children are females, but they always want to sidestep it. It's never that, oh, well, we need to step up and have parents need to do better. Unlike what she just said, which is true. Some people don't deserve to be parents. There's nothing wrong with admitting that, just like certain people don't deserve to be husbands or certain people don't deserve to be wives. Certain people don't deserve to be parents. There's nothing wrong with admitting that. But they'd rather say, oh, well, we need to do more. We need to put more money, more programs, as opposed to saying what she just said.
Say hello to my little friend. The hell?
we don't want children to suffer as a result of those hopeless, hapless, feckless, lazy, shouldn't be parents at all parents. And let's call it out like it is. You know, you're not getting it. If your kid doesn't have a toothbrush and toothpaste and you're not getting your kid to brush their teeth, you're a bad parent. I'm sorry. I think we need to call this stuff out. But does it? Are we putting yet another job in the hands of teachers who are already toilet training some kids? They're having to feed kids.
Brushing your teeth, teaching them how not to soil themselves in school, on top of feeding them. Well, what exactly are the parents, specifically mothers, doing at home with their kids?
You know, they're basically social workers now. I mean, it might be quite nice if we allowed teachers to do a bit of teaching occasionally.
Well, effectively, where these schemes have actually been introduced, they've been introduced at a time where it actually fits into the school curriculum. And these, we're talking about, you know, preschool children in the main. We're talking about 3 to 6 year olds. And we're talking about an application of fluoride onto their teeth, which is actually going to help them. You know, we could argue about whose responsibility this is, but this is a solution to help children.
No, we can't argue. It's the parents. It's not the school. It's not the teachers. It's not the government. It's a responsibility of the parents. But if it was something that was predominantly the responsibility of fathers, there would not be any of these, oh, well, we can argue over who's responsible. Oh, all that would be out the window. If it was something predominantly for the fathers to handle, there would not be no hemming and hawing. Oh, well, we need more money. We need more help to get this done. It's only with the females that all of these extras throw money at it. We're going to excuse their poor behavior, like she said, feckless parents. But it never fails, and it does not help, because then you got a 2nd, 3rd, 4th generation of females who are not responsible for their children. How does that help society? How does that help everybody by 3rd and 4th generation of mothers who don't know how to be parents to their children?
Who are suffering with tooth decay, and this is a method of actually improving that.
I mean, the scale of children going into hospital for needing a serious surgery, often under general anaesthetic.
Serious surgery as a byproduct of not brushing teeth, not having the parent, we're going to say the mothers, not brushing the teeth of the children, nor teaching the children how to brush their teeth. Hospitalization. That is mind-blowing.
Have teeth removed is I think, I mean, absolutely, frankly, horrific for millions of people.
Well, absolutely, I totally agree. Why can't you? And the answer lies at Westminster. And there was a 3-hour debate about dentistry only on Tuesday. And, you know, what I heard from the minister, that things were improving. Well,
why is it the government's fault? Why you've got dentists who say, I'm not taking on any more NHS patients. Is that because they're not paid enough for them? What's the issue?
Money. Like I said, it's always, it comes down to the...
Since the COVID-19 pandemic, there's been a
again, predominant parents are female, single mothers. Predominant. And look at what they're talking about that has occurred during the pandemic when everybody was home. The parents were home because they couldn't work. The kids were home because they couldn't go to school. The government was paying to keep people housed, paying them money to purchase stuff. All of these things were laid out, but yet this still occurred.
dramatic increase in the number of young children who have been slow to develop language skills. Pediatric speech delays more than doubled for children aged 12 and younger. PBS Wisconsin reporter Zach Schultz spent time with students and teachers to find out what's behind this increase and whether schools have the resources to help children speak up.
Again, do the schools have it? If everybody's at home, nobody can go anywhere. Don't have to worry about paying rent. Why is this occurring? I'm confused.
It looks like Bear is going home.
The children in this early Head Start classroom are your typical 2 to 3-year-olds.
That's a good
But they
guess.
were born during the COVID-19 pandemic, and some are at risk of developing a speech delay.
I believe we are definitely in a dire state right now.
Nicole Spooner is the Director of Comprehensive Services at Next Door Foundation, a Head Start program in Milwaukee. She says young children were severely impacted by the lockdown.
They were facing
How can a lockdown affect children to where they are not able to communicate? What were the parents doing with their children when they were stuck, forced, mandated to be inside? No work unless you're essential, no school, online schooling. What were they doing with their children?
isolation, stress with their families, trauma, things of that nature. And so they're coming in now with really some challenging behaviors, speech delays, things of that nature. I think we're up about 10% right now in children who have speech delays diagnosed.
What are the stressors when the government is paying to keep a roof over your head? What are the stressors when they can say, you got money for rent, but you don't have to pay your rent? What are the stressors when you don't have to work, but you're still able to keep food in the refrigerator? Are you saying that the stressors didn't exist before? Or are you trying to say that the stresses are the byproduct of being home? But again, if everybody's in the house, why aren't the kids able to communicate at a level that's desirable in these Head Start programs?
Across the state, it's the same story.
There's just too many kids for me to fit in.
Megan Bolkin is one of 4 full-time speech-language pathologists at Platteville School District in southern Wisconsin. Each of their caseloads is maxed out. And once a student is diagnosed with a speech delay, federal and state law mandates the district provide the services, whether they have the funding or not.
There are definitely kids who will just hand you stuff and expect that you know what they want to do with it and not say anything to you.
Early language skills are one of the best predictors of academic, social, vocational outcomes.
Rebecca Alper is an assistant professor and researcher at the University of Wisconsin at Madison, studying early language and literacy intervention.
We're really just kind of trying to get a sense for where the child's language levels are.
She says the COVID-19 pandemic highlighted a lot of existing health disparities along the lines of race, income, or even where someone lives, and young children were no different.
Were the stressors there before the children were born? If so, how did they get enhanced by the fact that they were not working unless you were essential, and the kids were home all day with you because there was no school or school was online? How does that translate to kids' communication skills not going on a steady incline? How is it that they're stagnant or went to a decline based on their age? Are they having children in a horrible situation? And even the fact that they didn't have to pay rent, that they were still able to have an income, that they were still able to keep food in the house and the lights on, all these rental moratoriums. Were the children being born into such a situation that even with the rental moratoriums, the mortgage payment moratorium, the government money influx didn't help? So what would have happened if there wasn't a pandemic? Wouldn't they still be nonverbal kids? Like they said, from 3 to 12? What is going on in the household to where when the stresses are basically taken away, rent, groceries, gas, travel to and fro work, how does it get to this degree? With all of those pluses, all of those take this stress off of you, but again, still, this is still occurring.
It's very hard to focus on early language intervention when you're experiencing housing insecurity, food insecurity, all of those sorts of things.
There was no insecurity. Couldn't kick you out. You didn't have to pay a mortgage. You had food for groceries. How does it turn to kids needing additional interventions in order for them to know how to communicate? What is going on in the house? What are these parents doing or not doing to where the kids, when you don't have to worry about rent, you don't have to worry about groceries, you don't have to worry about putting gas in the car, you really don't have to worry about insurance because you're not going anywhere. How do they still get this with all of those? Let me just take that weight off of you. And they still end up like this. How, what is going on in the house? But again, because it's predominantly females that are raising these kids by themselves, they got all these excuses. Oh, the stresses. Literally, money was being thrown at everybody during this time. Everybody got checks. Everybody got checks and said, well, you don't have to pay rent. Everybody got checks and said, well, you don't have to pay your mortgage. You just had to write a letter and say, I can't afford to pay my mortgage. And that was it. That was the bar. I can't pay my mortgage right now because of the pandemic. And that was it. You didn't have to. So what are the stressors that she is citing that led to children being unable to communicate? But if it was predominantly men raising children, would they be so readily to say, oh, well, there's all these stresses out there? They'll make all these excuses for the females. Does it help the females that are coming behind them? Have you seen some of these houses that women married or unmarried? Have you seen the state of their apartments and homes? You cannot say, oh, well, that's the first generation of that behavior. That is generation after generation after generation. So now the kids can't communicate at a proper level. What do you think that those children are going to, those girls, when they have children, what do you think that they're going to, how do you think that they are going to interact with their children? Is that helpful or hurtful to society?
Alper's team is studying how best to support caregivers of young children, since language development starts at birth.
What would be the most supportive long term is to really help support early identification and early intervention, because the earlier we can intervene, the better the long-term prognoses are.
I have one for everybody. Peyton, would you like to put a vest on?
Back at Next Door in Milwaukee, they use a system called Lena to help identify kids with possible speech delays.
These vests are going to record the amount of interactions that we're having with each other. It's going to tell us how often we talk to each other, because talking is very important.
Yeah, talking is very important. Are these parents talking to their kids? Are they interacting with them while they were in the house during the pandemic, or were they interacting with their children to any degree? Because I find it hard to believe that they were, considering what they're talking about. Delayed communication skills, delayed verbal communication. I find it hard to believe that these parents, these mothers, were actually interacting with their children and that this still occurred. Not gonna say, oh, well, they're all suffering from autism or on the spectrum. No, I do not believe that is possible. That to this degree, that is the reasoning. No.
Like a superhero this time.
Yeah.
Shakita Caldwell is the lead teacher in this classroom and convinces the kids to wear vests that contain a small device that monitors and counts interactions between kids and teachers.
But guess what it's going to do? It's going to help you to talk more, and it's going to help your teachers talk to you more. And we're going to build lots of vocabulary together.
They are actually recording the frequency of the interactions between the teachers and the children.
Tonya Hameister is the Director of Education Services at Nextdoor. She says from the Lena device, they download the data, which creates a chart to show the number of times a student and teacher talk to each other. That lets the teachers know which students need more attention.
So if I have that child who scored lower, who wasn't having many interactions, then I will plan to, okay, I'm going to have a one-on-one with this child. Maybe I'm going to read more books with him. I want him to name. I'm going to ask him what does he see in the book so I can get those words out of him.
Hameister says Lena started as a research program, but now Nextdoor has adopted it for all early Head Start classrooms.
We saw an increase, especially in the children that were not as verbal, not as expressive. We saw a pretty significant increase in the amount of interactions. So the teachers were doing very targeted interactions with children and trying to increase that opportunity for them to be expressive.
What about why? I have yet to hear them talk about, oh, well, yeah, we're doing this work in school, but on top, we're also having one-on-one discussions with the parents to help them understand the importance of verbal interaction with their children. They want to put this on strangers to state a separate business to help kids be more verbal, more communicative. They don't need the parents' interaction. Apparently, parent is not the parents' fault. It's the pandemic. It's the government's not doing enough. They need more programs. The classes are overrun, and we need more trained therapists. We need better funding so we can get a bigger building to hold more students, to help them to be able to communicate, because apparently there's an influx of children on the spectrum. Well, if it is, then it has to be environmental. What's going on in the environment? Is it because of the food deserts? Is it because of what the mother is ingesting while she is pregnant? Is it what the mother is doing while she is pregnant? These are conversations that need to be discussed. If you're talking about is blew up because of a pandemic, there's always a pass when it comes to the parents that are raising these children, predominantly single mothers.
Hameister says Nextdoor is fortunate enough to have a lot of community support, but she worries about schools that are dealing with a budget crunch and a surge in speech referrals. In the last state budget, Governor Tony Evers proposed using the budget surplus to put an extra $1 billion into special education funding. Republicans in the legislature only allotted an extra $107 million statewide over the next 2 years.
And then it would say, well, look, Republicans don't care about the children. Money doesn't fix the problem. Money does not fix this problem. This is parenting. Saying we need more money so we can build better schools, so we could develop better technology, so we can have more people that specialize in this. This does not fix the problem. And throwing $1 billion at something does not fix the problem. I mean, $107 million seems excessive to me. So $1 billion is just, what is going on? Why do you think that $1 billion is going to get these kids over this hurdle? Isn't it at home? Why aren't the parents interacting with their children to the point to when they get to what's the damn program? Head Start, that they're ready to rock and roll? How is communicating $1 billion budget issue? How is being verbal $1 billion budgetary expense? This is only because of females. If it was men, not even close. If it was something that men were doing solely in charge, no way would this be the type of discussions that are happening. No way.
Just a 2% increase.
It's a challenge. It is a huge challenge. We know a lot of our systems are resource depleted and they're tired.
Megan Bolkin says burnout in her industry is a real concern. And while they're doing okay right now, next February, they start screenings for the 4K students, where the next wave of speech delays is waiting to be identified.
Those referrals keep coming as those kids are evaluated, and if they qualify, getting them added onto my schedule, that's when it's going to start to be, okay, now I feel like I'm drowning. Now,
what is going on? Burnout from teaching toddlers, adolescents, children to be verbal, how to communicate. I want to play over there. I want to play with that. I want something to drink. I have to go to the bathroom. How are people having burnout for something as easy as communicating? Even on a child's level, how are they talking about we need more money? How are they talking about that people are burnt out? How are we talking about people are burnt out from helping children where their parents are falling short on communication? Being verbal. We're not talking about how to multiply at Head Start. We're talking about communicate, being verbal. I say all this to say is they're not helping by doing things like this. Letting these parents get a pass is not helpful because they get a pass at this. They already get passes with other things. But to give them a pass over your children coming to Head Start and not being able to communicate, not be able to be verbal, this is ridiculous. Again, like I said, if it was something that was predominantly handled by fathers, no way would this be the topic of discussion. No way would they be covering it like this, saying, oh, we need more funding. This is garbage. Anyway, that's all I got. Please consider liking, subscribing, and commenting below. Share, stuff like that.